You think that just because you're good at insurance that you can build a team, and it's not true. It doesn't matter how good you are. It matters how good can you make somebody else.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people miss it. We tell people all the time, it's not my job to cover everything.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, no, it's my job to help you decide where you want to put your premium to cover the things that are going to be the most important to you. And then it's about balancing that risk. But no, my wife at home is way, way, way more supportive than I see most people being. And she understands how it fits into the big picture of what we're trying to do.
Okay, so here we are, Rate of Success podcast. I am extremely excited to have the one and only Nik Champion here. So Nik is an insurance agent in our market, one of the top, if not the top, insurance agents. So Nik, why don't you just a little bit about where you're at, how long you've been in the business?
Yeah, so I'm Nik Champion. I'm the owner of Champion Insurance. It's an all-state office. We have 18 employees right now. We're in Geneva, Illinois. We've been at this for about 8.5 years. Before then, I was with corporate Allstate, running through the ranks there. Became a district manager, was the youngest in the country doing that, and kind of decided that if all my ideas were working, might as well come back home. Started up in March 2017, and before then I was in Baltimore running a market. And then came back home because I'm from here.
Okay, so you're from here. You moved out to Baltimore, came back here. Did you grow up in the area?
So I grew up in the Naperville school districts.
Okay.
Then went to Salmonock, which is a very, very small town next to Sandwich, Illinois. Everybody seems to know Sandwich.
That's an adjustment.
Sandwich Fair. Has nothing to do with sandwiches, but it's like the DeKalb County Fair.
Yeah.
So went to Northern Illinois University, met my wife, ended up working for Allstate Corporate, and was part of a leadership development program. And like I said, I came up through the ranks there, and I realized that all the important work was done on the sales side. Yeah. And so put my career towards that angle. And like I said, became one of the youngest in the country doing that. And like I said, it was nice to be able to come home and have a reason to come home and take a risk on myself.
Yeah.
So.
Do generally people in your position who run a team, do they typically start on the corporate side? Is that a typical transition, or was that something unique to you? And did that help you kind of seeing that side of it?
So I wouldn't say it's typical. It's probably atypical.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sales leaders who have become agents. It goes one of two extremes. Either it doesn't work at all, because you think you know better, and arrogance will get in the play, right? Or it goes extremely well. So I used to joke with my agents now that I still am friends with, that we're in my market. With our success that we've had, I said, I guess I did know what I was talking about, huh?
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be the most typical path, but it did work. So I used to tell people we won Rookie of the Year in 2017. I looked at them and I would say, I cheated, which is very provocative because it's a thing with new insurance agents. A lot of times when they come in and the production is out of left field, you start looking at, are they rating the policies right? Are they lying on the applications? Are they taking advantage of things? Because I don't know about your industry, but in my industry, a lot of people think that they're slick.
Yeah.
They think that they're smarter than everybody else. So when you start asking somebody, it's like, hey, how you getting all your business? Oh, I'm just working internet leads.
Yeah.
Just internet leads? Nothing else? Nothing else. Okay, so your success is triple what everybody else is on that, who's been doing this for a long time. It's usually because they're lying on something. So I would tell people on the Rookie of the Year, I was like, we cheated. They're like, what? I knew everything. I knew every nuance about how to quote. I knew everything about what we should be doing. I knew how to focus up my staff on the right things. I knew to invest into more people and not take money out sooner. So it definitely helped. I tell people, I was like, I spent years working with hundreds of the best people. I've probably trained more than 1,000 staff members.
Yeah.
And now I went and opened up my own office. For me, it definitely helped. But I was kind of taking mental notes. I knew that one day I might want to do this. And so I was prepared. So,
yeah. And not everyone can run a team. How many people do you manage today on your team?
Yeah, literally 18 people.
Yeah, so that's a big responsibility. And nobody prepares themselves. I'm sure when you were younger, you never thought I'm going to manage 18 people. So what's that been like? Because again, you want to be an insurance agent. You're good at what you do. Now you're thrust into this position where you're scaling a business and you got to manage 18 people. And I know in my business, that's not the easiest thing to do. And people, they have this revolving door of people. So what has that been like to kind of manage your team and kind of build the team?
So I think the funniest thing is everybody thinks they know exactly what I should be doing.
Yeah.
And with 18 people, there's 18 different situations. There are circumstances that come up that are legitimate, some that are not. Sometimes people need grace. Sometimes they need a firm, handle of things. It's hard. I tell people all the time, I have 3 jobs. So 1 is to network with people like yourself. 2 is to train the staff. And 3 is when shit hits the fan, it goes on my desk.
Yeah.
So I only deal with complaints. I only deal with like claims that don't go perfect. You think that just because you're good at insurance that you can build a team, and it's not true. I mean, it's the same on your world too. It doesn't matter how good you are. It matters how good can you make somebody else.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people miss it. They just think that because they could sell, say, 100 items in our world, which would be incredible, that makes them a good manager. It doesn't. It's probably a big indicator you're not going to let go.
Yeah.
So am I the best salesperson that Allstate has or in insurance? Probably not. There's probably people who could outproduce me quite a bit, but I know how to train people. I know how to make that measured choice of when do you give grace and when do you let things go and when do you not. And I think that's where a lot of people make that mistake.
Yeah.
And it's hard for people to understand. I give up situations all the time where I'm like, hey, I'm dealing with this staff issue.
Yeah.
And what's the number one thing you'd think they tell me?
Oh God, I don't know.
Fire them.
Oh yeah. Well,
Off with their heads.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, you stated it. You have to be very understanding because bad things happen to good people. And that's one thing that I've learned. One thing I always say, and I wonder how you feel about it, but it's like no one's going to care about your business more than you do. Okay. And you got to get those people to buy into the Nik Champion vision.
Yep.
And I feel like that's where most people get it wrong is they think everyone cares about it as much as they do. And they don't. Like they don't make the money we do. They don't, so it's like you're getting them to buy into the things that you want to do. And you're almost attracting people to your brand. In a lot of ways. I mean, it's kind of how we connected more than you're going out and trying to recruit people because when you're recruiting people, you're trying to convince them of like how they want to do. Does that kind of apply to you?
It does. I tell my staff all the time, be selfish about their own results, what they need. I'm setting up the structure that you can be selfish and self-interested and maximize your opportunities, your numbers, your activity. I want you to get paid.
Yeah.
It's my job to make sure that plays into the larger picture.
Yeah.
So one of the things I've actually fought some staff on is like, oh, well, I thought that this would be better for the office. It's like, no, I can't have you doing that. And it messes up what I'm trying to hit here because X, Y, and Z are ramifications of that. And I've already thought that out. I need you to stay in your lane and just produce.
Yeah.
In terms of the branding, I will say that's absolutely become easier. So when people were when it was just me and 2 other people when we started the office, because that's what it was. My original salesperson is still with us and is actually my top producer. They come in and it's harder because I got to pitch you on why I think we have great ideas.
Yeah.
Now when you come in, the pitch is completely different. All right, sit down. Let's talk. Tell me about yourself. And then what I do is usually it's like, okay, so let me tell you how it is working here. Wherever you might be right now, that might be the Kane County Cougars.
Yeah.
They're some of the best baseball players in the world. You have to be playing minor league baseball.
Yeah.
We're trying to be the New York Yankees. It's fucking different.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to be a part of that, great. Just let me know now. That's in the first 5 minutes of the interview. I'm telling them, you don't actually want to work here. We actually care about what you say, when you say it, how you say it. I'm going to care about your activity. I'm going to care about you getting sales. My job is to provide you a safe environment to work. You're not going to be belittled. You're not going to be called names.
Yeah.
But it's intense. And then from there, my number 2 objective is to get you paid.
I think the problem though is like, and I don't know if you experience this, but like you can tell everybody that and they think they want that, but when they're actually in the environment and they're experiencing it, they realize pretty quickly that maybe this isn't what I thought it was going to be. It takes a very special person.
I would agree with that, but I will say that it's helped us weed some people out.
Of course.
And the reason being is like we had an interview with somebody that my service manager recommended once. And they did the interview and we did this whole pitch and they walked out and they said, okay, I'll let you know in a couple days, which is fine. I don't hard sell anybody to, sign up right now. And they reached out through the manager and said, hey, I can't work for that guy. He's too intense. And I looked at my office manager and said, good. I said, the reason being is if I bring somebody on board and they're not on board with this, when they come over and they make a mistake and I say, hey, you need to go X, Y, Z next time, and then I leave, I can't spend 15 minutes over your feelings about why this is actually the right thing. I have to just give you the info. We have 18 people. I've got work I've got to do.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, yesterday was going to train the new people and work with them. Guess what I did all day? Customer complaints and issues that hit the fan, right?
What I always say is standards over feelings is something we say all the time. Like we have a standard and we follow that, and that's more important than the way you feel about it. We can talk about that at a separate time, but our standards are more important than the way that we feel about it. So,
100%.
Yeah.
So it's helped us weed people out up front, or actually what's I've found more common is buying into the brand.
Yeah.
They understand. I tell people in the interview too that it's my job to convince you not to take the job. If you at the end still want to do it, you just know what you're signing up for.
Yeah.
And then the first time when they're there, I say, you need to go faster. You're going to role play this. Nope, not good enough. Start again. They're not like, oh my God, what is this?
Yeah.
No, it was in the interview. We literally did that in the interview just to make sure that you understood what you were coming for. It's actually helped with onboarding.
Yeah.
They understand this is what's going to happen and nobody's surprised.
I love it. So, if anyone wants to understand like how to build a business, I will have to say, we joked about this before you got here. I get called on all the time, okay, by a lot of insurance agent. Goosehead calls me. I think it's like every couple days. I get State Farm, you name it, they call me. And they never, I never take their call. I never do anything. I will say and I still don't even know how we got to this point. I will say there's a few things that Nik did. And if you ever, anybody in this business that wants to learn how to build a business, you should buy Nik lunch. You should sit down and you should have him teach you on networking and brand and things like that, because I know a lot of people pay coaches and they do all this stuff. I'll just say this, and I'll never forget, I had, you were texting me and I wasn't responding, and Joel Schaub reached out to me. And Joel and you are good friends and you work together, and Joel's texting me like, hey, he's like, give Nik a shot. And I was like, look at this freaking guy. Like he's got other people reaching out to me. And I respected the hustle. I thought it made me feel important, more than anything, which I know, as being in sales for 20 plus years, like that's what you want to do. Who doesn't want to feel important? I sent you a couple deals. You took care of a good friend of mine. And so I just want to commend you, because I feel like in this day and age of internet leads and Zillow and all these things, like in sales, a lot of us have gotten away from just marketing and like branding and networking. And I just want to compliment you, because that is something that I think a lot of people lost. It's something AI will never replace. And I just want to commend you, because I just feel like you do every time I look, I had a realtor I know take a picture with you, and we were joking about that. Like, the guy is everywhere. So if you want to know how to build a business, Nik is the guy that you want to spend time with. So I just want to, it's props to what you've done, because it's amazing. 2017 until now, a lot of people would say COVID, but you just had your best month,
We did just have our best month. I do want to go back on that point that you said there, because I think what most people miss is that, and they'll ask me, it's like, how do you, I'll have other agents across the country ask, well, how do you get lenders and realtors? Like the assumption is that I'm paying or something like that, which I don't.
Yeah.
And you don't have to. And that's the part is make friends. At the end of the day, I was trying to be your friend. Hey, somebody that I know, like, and trust. Okay, does he care about his business as much as I do? Yeah. Okay, is he a good guy? Is he reputable? Yeah, because I can't be associated with people who are not reputable.
Yeah.
I've got a few lenders from that stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I sat down with a lender once who said, hey, my current agent, I won't name companies, pays me $20 gift cards every time I send them over a deal. I was like, well, I'm not going to do that. So good luck with that.
Yeah, exactly.
And haven't ever gotten a deal from that person.
Yeah.
Nor would I want to. Making friends is the biggest thing. And going out there on social media, I do take a lot of selfies and things like that. It's not because I think I'm so adorable that I should be taking selfies all the time. It's that I am the brand.
Yeah.
So the more that they see you on social media, the more they know, like, and trust you, make friends. I wasn't pushy with you on the text. I also think in my world, especially, so this would be lenders to realtors. I always think we're in this like rock, paper, scissors kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So I chase lenders chase realtors will usually want
and we
to have
kept running into each other in different scenarios. Like we had an event, we showed up together, and then like we were running in the same circle. So it entirely made sense for us to connect. And if you talk to my team, and if they were to, say who should we call, they'll say, well, give Nik a call because I've mentioned it numerous times, and it's just because you're being very modest about it. But when you say I'm the brand, the fact that you even understand that, you're 90% ahead of most people. Because most people, okay, when I talk to realtors every day, don't realize they are the actual brand, not the sign that's out there. Even look at a real estate sign. 90% of the sign is the company logo, and then there's a picture of the agent. The smart ones, when I drive by and I see is about the person, those are someone that understands the brand, is them, but they don't even really realize that. So the fact that you even understand that is a big piece of why you're successful, because most don't.
Yeah, and I would say it gets easier over time.
Yeah.
You're not going to have, at first, people were just buying in, okay, some new guy, right? Because how many new loan officers are there that make a flash in the pan? How many new agents are there make a flash in the pan? And you'll see them everywhere, and it fizzles out, right?
Yeah.
So you have to stay consistent. Like, the thing is about me is, like, I'm always going to answer the phone. I'm going to respond. I do actually love this stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I also think that reputation is built over time, right? So I was explaining this to some new people the other day. I was like, you can ask around about me. Ask anybody in the lender, real estate world, insurance world. You can ask about me.
Yeah.
Some of them might not even like me, and that's fine. But you're damn right that they respect me.
Yeah.
They know that I'm going to do it the right way. I'm going to hustle. I'm going to give you everything that I said I would be. Now, again, if that's not your cup of tea, fine, right?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be, right? I think one mistake people make, especially in the social media world and where everything's online, is they try to be likable to everybody. You won't be.
Can't be everything to everyone.
And when people don't like you and you try to appease those people, as soon as you appease them, they're going to find something else they don't like about you.
Yeah.
But you can't take away the fact that, again, we do the right thing. We always do work as hard as we say we would. We do follow up. It's things like that that's built a brand over time, which is why people like Joel were comfortable reaching out to you. I've had that happen with other loan officers as well. They'll say, hey, I already called 3 people about you.
Yeah.
So the only reason we're talking right now is because all 3 of those people vouched for you.
Yeah.
It was harder up front. It gets easier now. Like, there's not a single, I would say, in Illinois, Chicagoland area, there's probably not a single loan officer or realtor who's not at least aware of who I am because of that, right? Now, do they all use me? Absolutely not, right?
Yeah.
But it helps when that reputation precedes you. It's like,
But I think it's a key to marketing, which I tell realtors all the time, and I tell my team all the time, is you want to stay top of mind. Like, you never know. Like, there's realtors where, I'll be calling on them for years, okay? And I won't get one opportunity. But all of a sudden, a Saturday night, 9 o'clock, I get a call, and it's because I'm top of mind. I just need to make sure I stay top of mind with as many people as possible. And you never know how that's going to weave in down the line, but sometimes it just takes longer than others. But I think you do a great job of remaining relevant. You're active, you're out there, you have a team that allows you to do that, which I think is important, because sometimes when the busier you get, the more you're chained to your desk, and you've done a great job of being able to do that as well.
Well, and that's actually 2 good points that I want to bring up too, is that building a team, right? Yeah. So in my world, they say, hey, don't let your staff go out there and build any relationships with lenders or realtors, because what if they leave? They're going to take those lenders and realtors with them.
Yeah.
And my counter to that has always been, what if they stay?
Yeah.
Right? Like, the idea that I can be all things for all people, or that I could reach out to every lender and realtor and build a meaningful relationship, is just not true. I have a wife at home. I have a daughter at home.
Yeah.
My number 1 and number 2 priorities are my wife and my daughter, in that order. We could talk about that if you like, but like, I just think my wife's my life partner.
Yeah.
And if I do my job correctly, my daughter will then have her own top priorities, like a future husband and kids and things like that. So my number 1 priority is my wife, and number 2 is the daughter, number 3 is the business. Then it's a whole lot of air, and then everything else, right? So if I want to keep 1 and 2 as number 1 and 2, well, that means I can't go to every networking event anymore. Right? When it was just my wife, it's like, hey, we're going to trade off some things a little bit easier because she's got to work, I have to work. Letting your staff go out there and build your own relationship. So like, even as you, as like a loan officer, hey, it's okay that you go out and you own the relationship with a real estate agent.
Yeah.
It allows it to be much more able to expand the business. And I just think that because people are control freaks and they're so afraid of giving away some of that power, that they think that people are going to leave.
Yeah.
And my perspective has always been, I'm going to try to treat you well enough and pay you well enough that you want to stay.
But you can't lead from a position of fear. You have to lead and be comfortable with your brand and your what you're building and the environment and the culture that you have. And if you aren't, you're always leading from. I know the same thing because my team goes out and networks and they bring their own realtors on and things like that. And like to me, like could they recreate it elsewhere? Absolutely. But if I'm providing the best environment for them and putting a good culture and have a vision of what I want, they're going to want to be a part of that. And that goes back to, kind of what you're building something that's creating momentum that people want to be a part of.
And in my world too, they're like, well, how do you stop your top producers from becoming agents themselves?
Yeah.
I was like, I tell them the truth. They're like, what?
Yeah.
I made $7,000 year one.
Yeah.
So January 1st, 2017 to December 31st, 2017, I pulled out of the business $7,000 total dollars.
Yeah.
Right. So I made $95,000 on my last job as a sales leader, and I went to $7,000. I ended up in the apartment we had. My wife was still in Baltimore finishing up because she's a tax accountant, so she was finishing up the busy season. I left her with all the furniture, everything. I went to Walmart. I went to the clearance section. I got hot pink sheets that I made a pallet on the floor, and that's what I slept on, right? And again, I had some money, but I was like, I don't want to spend anything. I can rough it for a month. It'll be okay. Yeah. It's that idea of like, I need to invest everything back in, and it's hard for people to see the long term.
So where does that drive come from? So like, not everyone can make a decision to leave a $95,000 job to go to nothing. Like, not everyone can, where did that drive come from? Parents, sports, like what was because not everyone can do that. Like you have to have a specific type of upbringing to be able to do that.
Yeah. So I do credit my parents. They have a lot of hard work built into them.
Yeah.
And interesting enough, my dad being a disabled veteran, I never have actually been able to see my dad work too much outside of college and things like that. But my mom would take care of him and try to take care of us. So the work ethic of do your job, and you have to do chores because it's part of the house. This is what we have to do. Hey, our situation isn't as normal as everyone.
Yeah.
We had to probably grow up a little bit faster than we could. Yeah. I do credit, there's a story I like to tell about my dad, who realized from the jump I was pretty smart. And so when I came back and I think I got a 10 out of 12 on a spelling test.
Yeah.
And he goes, you can miss one, but you missing two is because you didn't study.
Yeah.
So we're going to study until you're getting 100% multiple times.
Yeah.
And then I'll let you study back on your own. And again, that's what you want from involved parents is how I'm going to be with my daughter when she starts going to school is let's go over the spelling test. Let's go over the math questions. And the lesson I got out of that wasn't just that, perfection's the only thing here. It was more, you're capable of this, and so I'm going to hold you to the standard that I think
standard, that's the first thing that came to my mind. It's like,
Right. And he put that standard on me because he's like, I can tell you're smart and you can do this, so I'm going to push you to the standard. And so that's what I took out of it. It's like, it's my name on it. If my name's on it, it's going to be the best of my abilities, period. Right. Yeah. And that's how you build that brand and reputation that we were talking about earlier.
A lot of athletes and teams talk about with practice, they say the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. And that's kind of like, that same mentality is like, sometimes you do things over here that don't impact your business and you don't think it matters, but that analogy of how you do one thing is how you do everything. So it all kind of goes together. And that is a great lesson in that as well.
I think the other thing that helped of growing up is that I did get bullied quite a bit growing up. And it puts a certain amount of resilience, I think, in you. Yeah. So when you're going through your life and it's like, hey, I know I'm smart. They told me I would just be somebody crunching numbers in a cubicle. And that's all I was going to do.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's all I have. Nobody wants to, And having that resilience of like, no, I think I'm good enough. I think I'm okay. I don't like the narrative that you're telling about me, right? It puts a certain amount of chip on your shoulder and scrappiness, right? Tell me I can't do something. It's actually one of the posters I have, the canvas. It's Michael Jordan doing one of his dunks and it says, tell me I can't. Love that.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Yeah.
So I think that's built up the resilience. We were talking before the podcast started about like people are having a lot of pressure and a lot of things that I'm super grateful for where I'm at. I wanted the pressure. I wanted the things to work out. And so now that they're here, it's a little bit better. But it's like, I knew that. And I think that I knew that I would be successful. And I think that you have to believe it before everybody else does,
Yeah.
and then keep believing it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where some people who's like, oh, I know I'll be successful, and then it comes, they're like, okay, well, what if I'm a fraud? And then they start crumbling around. And
Yeah.
it's like, hey, I'm already used to people doubting me and thinking it's all going to fall apart. And I think maybe that's just been built up over years and years and years of that. Now, I don't obviously get bullied anymore, but it's actually why it's funny. We were talking about like the poker table and stuff like that beforehand. I beat a guy for maybe a questionable call.
Yeah.
I had kings, he had aces, turn came a king. He got really bent out of shape, and I was being nice about it.
Yeah.
And then he started mouthing off about, well, what did you think I had? It was a terrible call. You don't know what you're doing. I was like, well, that's an interesting to say as you give me all your chips.
Kings, yeah. Well, you have kings. Like, who's folding? Yeah.
Right.
How many people are going to fold kings? Yeah.
If anybody's a big poker player, I had kings. The flop was Jack 10-4, no flush. He bet all in. I was like, well, he goes, well, what could I have? I was like, you could have had queens. I was like, I just literally was hoping you didn't have aces. I cracked you on kings.
Yeah.
But it was more, I probably didn't. As I've gotten more successful and as I've gotten bigger, I've noticed that I'm not really supposed to, and I'm not really allowed to, in the cultural sense of like putting people in their place.
Yeah.
And it's something I've actually been working on lately, is like, you have to let more insults and more like distractions go. As we get more successful, you can't be doing that. So even though I got a little mouthy back, I was looking back and I was like, I probably didn't need to at all. I did thank him for paying for dinner. Which he did.
Yeah.
So, but I was like, I probably should have let that one go. It would have been better on it. But it's funny because one of the best lessons somebody told me was my third year in Allstate. A gentleman by Brian Corder, he was in charge of a portion of claims, I should say, is probably a better way to say that. And I said, hey, I want you to be my mentor. He said, great, but we're not talking anything business.
Yeah.
It's great. I don't want to talk business. So he was my boss's boss's boss, I think. So he's like, we can't talk business. I'll talk to you about anything else. And after a couple sessions, he goes, Nick, I think it's interesting for you. You have this burning flame that runs really hot and really large.
Yeah.
And what he's really saying is, I piss off a lot of people, but I work really hard. That's what he was saying.
Yeah.
And he goes, it serves you really well. And he's like, I'm going to give you some advice I don't think is something you've heard before. I'm not telling you to put the flame out. And he's like, I think a lot of people tell you to do that. I said, yeah, they do. He goes, I think it actually serves you more than it hurts you right now.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to give you that advice. I'm just going to give you the perspective that one day you need to switch that to an everlasting fire, more of a controlled blaze that doesn't get out of control like it does right now. And you'll know when it's time to flip that. And I'm definitely at that stage now. I can't just be getting on to everybody who wants to run their mouth. Again, those transitions you were talking about, is like, how do you go from being a big producer to managing a team? How do you go from a small business to a big business? Those are some of the things that I think about, is like transitioning. Okay, I have to do a certain role now. I have to be a certain person. I have to protect a brand, a reputation.
Yeah.
And I do think a lot of people struggle with that. And I'm certainly not the master at it. There's people who have been in my role that, have 100 employees by now and things like that, right? So I'm not arrogant enough to think that I have all the answers, but these are some things that I think I've probably navigated better than some, where I've seen them stumble or not been able to get to that next level.
So I think something you said kind of struck me a little bit. I just turned 50, so I'm a little older than you, maybe a lot older than you. But so one of the things, I had someone say something very similar to me that the gentleman said to you about the flame. And he said, Eric, your biggest strength is also your biggest weakness, meaning my passion. And I would just like, if you talk to Jody on my team, she's worked with me for over 20 years. She will tell you, like, I'm a completely different person today than I was even 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And I was successful back then. It's just, I was successful because I was like rolling people over. Like, I was like, I didn't care. Like, I wanted to be successful so bad. Similar story, a little bit different. In 6th grade, I stuttered, which was horrible. Here I am doing a podcast, but like, I had to see a speech therapist. Like, it was horrible. Like, I would never speak. I could never get up and speak in front of people. So I can appreciate everything you said. There's a lot of parallels there. And I struggled when I first met my wife. I was downtown working at the Board of Trade, got out of that, got into the mortgage business, which is crazy. 2002, crazy time to get in the mortgage business. But that passion and that, I will tell you, there will become a moment, and you're probably already getting there, but there'll be a moment where things just that you would previously react to, and that you don't react to. And maybe it's you have a daughter, right? Yep. So like you're going to have these moments where you don't react to them anymore. And it's going to be such a weight lifted off your shoulder because people like you and I, we run very hot. Like we're just, and that's again, our biggest strength, but it's also can be a weakness. And then the word I will say is like, when you get there, it's clarity. Like you'll see your business in a way that you've never seen your business when you're not reacting to so much. Because like for me, it was like I had all these highs and I had all these lows, okay, because I was hard on myself or I was like really hopped up and I was never like even. But when I kind of worked through that, I got to this place where like I saw my business like in a totally different way. And I was like, it was like such a quality of life. You know, I was almost getting more successful, but I wasn't feeling the pressure from it. So if you're not there yet, when you get there, I'm telling you, it will be amazing.
So we are there for the most part.
Yeah.
It started in 2018, November 2018. I purchased a small book. So in my world, you can purchase a small book, and I needed to hire a couple people, and then sales were I was doing everything. So in the beginning, you have to wear every single hat. And I remember telling my wife, I was like, hey, I'm a little bit overwhelmed right now. I can tell. Like, I'm drowning. Like, I'm not doing okay. She goes, you should take some time off. I was like, that is the opposite of what I need right now.
Exactly, yeah.
That's only going to make everything worse. I'm going to just be sitting there about all the work that's building up. And she's like, no, take some time off, take some time off. And I ended up slamming my hands on the desk. And I was like, enough.
Yeah.
And I ended up slamming them a couple more times. I was like, no, I need to get better right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, right now. And what I meant by that is like how to handle the stress, how to handle what I need to do, the clarity to move.
Yeah.
And it started there. And I think a lot of it started tempering off of like, okay, better perspective, better knowledge, patient with staff.
Yeah.
Absolutely 2022 when my daughter was born, flipping a switch.
Changes a lot, doesn't it?
It does. It's to the point where, like you mentioned, your staff says that 10 years ago, oh, you're so much better than you were 10 years ago. I get that all the time, except it was 3 years ago. It's like, oh, you guys have no idea how he was before his daughter was born.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think it made me more patient for sure. It definitely mellowed me out. And I think some of that perspective got sped up. But to the point now where I don't know if you're doing this too, but like I'm teaching my managers and stuff like that to not react to everything.
Oh yeah, I mean it's what I talk about all the time. Like, and it goes to our earlier point before we started taping is like, I see people have a good couple months, and I'm pulling them back. Like, hey, you don't celebrate a good month. Like, you know, it's like you get a touchdown, you don't see them. You know, you gotta act like you've been there before. Number one, and it can end tomorrow. Like you can't celebrate the highs too much, can't get too. When you have a bad month, but it's tough. I'm always pulling people back from that because people make bad decisions when it's becomes financially motivating. Like you can't really think about money in this business. You really can't. I know it sounds odd. You got to think about the customer, you know, your team, and just like I always say, I'm more worried about everybody else in my office. You know, my customers. I'm not worried about me. I'll be fine. Like I'll survive. I make good money. Like. You know, and I'll hire someone else or I'll figure it out. The problem is I always worry about everyone else because I want to make sure they're not putting themselves financially in a position because we've both seen it. Like people make bad decisions in good times and it's hard to get people, you know, to live modestly and build a career and not just have a job.
I think as a general statement, one of the things I try to tell my staff is if you go for a mortgage and you're approved for $300,000, if you get a $300,000 home, I'm throwing something at you.
I know. Yeah.
No, that's a general statement. Obviously, there are exceptions to that. I think the hardest part is like I care for people and I want to make sure that but they have to be a willing participant in that. And I think that ends up being like the hard part of like, when you do want to care for your staff or the customer and you want them to do the right thing and what do you do when they don't?
Yeah.
Right. Do you have any perspective on that?
Yeah. I mean, it's something that is kind of a non-negotiable for me. So like if someone is not a consumer, like for me, like customer experience is everything. To me, it's the one thing that makes me different than a lot of other people. So for me, if, you know, they're not taking care of the customer, and matter of fact, our call just before I was a few minutes late, in my constant evolution, like we're changing how we communicate to our customers and the things that we say and how we do it. Like I structure everything. I am a process. All of our phone calls kind of have a theme, you know, no matter when it is. Like I don't want to say I'm a control freak, but I want to make the consumer experience something that is it's an experience. There's customer service and then there's customer experience. So for me, customer experience is a non-negotiable. And when we have a client and they're right, and we did something wrong, like I own it as the team leader. But then also like, as far as like, when my team gets off their way, to me, every bit of conflict is an opportunity. Some of my best relationships in this business were built out of conflict because, you can have things happen. You can, have a conflict. It's what you use that conflict and what, so go back to before I would just be a hothead and I would be really upset and we would get nothing out of it. Then I started learning that if I would use that conflict to kind of open up the door a little bit, have a good discussion, it could be with a realtor, it could be with an attorney, it could be with a team member. Like those conflicts are massive opportunities, but most people, their ego gets in the way. But when you can find that clarity in your life and your business and you realize the ultimate goal is developing that relationship, like some of my best relationships with realtors were built out of a shitty situation, whether my fault or theirs, but we used it to kind of get past all the BS. And now we're like great partners. So that's what I always say about conflict is like, and I tell my team this all the time, like they'll be like, oh, this realtor, or this lender or whatever. And I'm always like, well, let's talk about it. And like, it's an opportunity if you view it that way.
Yeah, we've had conflicts where I think it helps it when you're doing it from a position of strength where you're not overextended, you're not overly stressed. Like we've had customer complaints call in. Like we actually just had one that I dealt with earlier this week where the guy's like, hey, I don't think that you guys are doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I said, listen, I just want to be upfront and talk about it, that if you don't think we're doing the right thing, you can shop your insurance. Like I just want to let you know, like you say that we're holding you here. I'm literally not.
Yeah.
Like, I understand if you want to look. That's not why I'm calling you, is to save your business. I'm calling to talk through this conflict and, like, let's have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
And that customer ended up staying and actually increasing some coverage and things like that. But it was just like, hey, I could take that off the table. If you leave, it'll be okay. I remember the first time I said that to a customer who decided that it was okay to swear at us. See, you and I swear. I think there's a difference between swearing at you and with you.
I always say I always tell people, you can yell at me, you can swear at me, just don't do it to my team. Like they don't make the money that I make. Like I'll take that. Like if you got a problem, this is my number. Call me, I'll take it. But don't treat my team. I give
them some passes. I probably wouldn't let somebody just swear at me a bunch. Like you can have a moment and I'll let you have the moment. It's like, okay, there's your freebie.
Yeah.
Right. But this guy kept swearing at me, like you MF or you. I was like, okay. I was like, listen, man, I want you to take your insurance elsewhere. I was like, we're going to still make rent if you're not here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So whatever you think you have on control, you don't. And it was because it's from a position of strength where I haven't overextended.
But do you feel like because of your brand and who you are and the reputation you've built, you've somewhat removed some of those people from your business because you're attracting the type of clientele that like want you to be who you are? Like, does that make sense? Like, do you find that changing at all? I mean, you can't control everything,
right? Because
you're in the insurance business and you're not turning down business. But do you find that a good majority of the people come to you and they come to you because of who you are?
I think so. I think they appreciate the authenticity. It's like, we're going to talk to you like normal people. Like, it's actually one of the things I tell my new people. I have a new girl starting yesterday. I said, hey, by the way, I give this speech to everybody. I hired you.
Yeah.
A lot of times what people do is they come in here and they say, okay, well, I need to be buttoned up and professional and sound a certain way. I need to be the salesperson. And they say, listen, I didn't hire the bullshit version of you that you think I want.
Yeah.
I hired you. So put my structure of how I do things, customer experience, as you called it earlier, and then put your own guts inside of it, your own insides, right? It should sound like you. Don't try to sound like me. Don't try to be me. It's not going to go well, right? But authenticity plays, I think, the most with people when they call. And it's like, listen, I want to actually help you through this. I don't care if you shop. You can put a bad review on us. We had a bad review earlier this year. Again, I told you in the beginning, I only deal with the problems, right?
Yeah.
Where they gave us a 1 out of 5 and said we don't help and all that kind of stuff. And I called her up and I said, hey, I just want to start off from the jump. I saw your review.
Yeah.
And I'm not asking you to change it. But can I actually help you?
Yeah.
And I said she's like, oh, okay, great. I'll change the review. I said, well, we're not there yet. Let me finish this. Let me actually finish everything that you need. And from there, when it's finished, you can decide to change it. I would appreciate it. But
that what you're saying is usually at the core of most customer experience problems is that people want to feel seen and they want to feel heard. That's really and most of the time when we fail in the customer experience journey, we didn't make someone feel seen. We didn't make someone feel heard. And we're not asking the right questions. I mean, think about it. Like, our staffs get busy. This is what we were talking about this morning, is that, we have a lot of closings leading up to this Friday, all this week. It's a crazy week as a branch, and everyone's been kind of feeling it a little bit. And what I said is that what I've noticed is, like, we're rushing through calls, okay? And we're not providing bad service. They're rushing. And I can tell it in the notes and things like that. And I said, if we just take more time, because what happens when you rush? You end up going back and sending emails. The customer has more questions. You end up spending more time anyways. So we were talking about call structure and how to ask the right questions before you get off the phone to prevent the 10 steps afterwards, because I see it all the time. And there's nothing worse than, I'm sure you see, when someone forwards you an email and there's like 10 replies back and forth and you're like, why don't you just pick up the phone? And we talk about that a lot. But I think that's where, you just have to sometimes slow down a little bit and have someone feel seen and heard. And then you're not going to have that. But it's tough because we get in this, we're high volume offices, both of us.
Oh, yeah.
And we want to do volume. We're driving sales and we want to do that. But sometimes the secret is slowing down sometimes. And it's tough. It goes against everything that we're teaching our team because we're pushing sales, but yet sometimes we just have to slow down.
I have a somewhat provocative question. Do you think bad reviews are good for business too?
Yeah, I think so. Well, you know what it is? Sometimes then people pay attention more.
Sure.
Yeah.
We have the perspective that, one, I think if all of your Google reviews showed 5 out of 5, people would actually discredit them, even if it was 700 reviews.
Well, because a lot of people hire reputation management companies and they ask customers before they ask for the review, did you have a good experience? And they send it. Like a true customer experience process. So we do something throughout the process where we send once in our upfront and once in the back, just, hey, how are things going? I check in, audit it. It's really to identify those problems up front. It's not to skew the reviews, but I want to know, that's basically how I got involved today, was that someone said they felt a little rushed. And I was like, oh, immediately, I called the customer, we went through it. But yeah, to your point, I think when you see a lot of reviews, now listen, I think a lot of people do Google reviews for a lot of the analytics behind it and a lot of other marketing. And, now it's ChatGPT searches and everything else. But at the core of it is a learning process for your team to learn as much as you can. Like, you can't send them a template here. Can you say this? Like, you have to get them to share their experience if you want to really learn and make it better.
Right. And that's also kind of my point is, like, I've told my staff, we're running a restaurant. If you think you're not going to have any broken plates, you're delusional.
Yeah.
Things will go wrong.
Yeah.
And again, even as perfect as I want to be, and I try to put processes and structure to catch things, and it does catch a lot. There are some people who have legitimate negative experiences with us, and that's
okay. But I don't
okay.
think it's about those negative experiences. What I tell my team all the time, people are not going to judge you on that insurance policy that you do where everything is perfect and the client walks away and saves $1,000 and they're like, Nick, that's amazing. And they move on. They're going to judge you on the one that you had an issue, how you resolved it, how your team resolved it. It took longer than expected. It caused a bunch of issues. They're going to judge you on how you handled that because it's easy in our business. Like, what do we do? Like, just listed, just closed. Everyone posts at a closing and do that. Like, that's the easy part. What they don't see is the pain and the struggle. And I think if you were to take a Joel Schaub or any top loan officer or a top realtor, their value is how they handle those situations where someone's upset or there's a problem, not the easy stuff. So to your point, I think that's how people will judge you is how you handle those things.
Well, and you need to respond to them too.
Yeah.
Like one of the things I can't stand there, like whenever I talk to other insurance agents, even loan officers, if I go on your Google reviews and it's a, hey, thanks, you had a great experience. Hey, thanks, you had a great experience.
Yeah.
I individually reply to every single Google review and I try to make them slightly different. Now, if you just leave 5 stars, there's only so many things I can say, which is like thanks for review, smiley face. But we respond even to the negative ones.
Yeah,
right.
And
sometimes,
you have to, well, actually, responding to the negative ones is even more important because we've had 2 people that give negative reviews and they weren't even customers ours. They were listing, so that like our buyer was buying their listing, and then they, one buyer lost his job, so the guy like sent a review like, oh, we didn't know what we're doing. And I'm thinking like, the guy lost his job. You can find a lender that'll give him a loan that lost his job. But those are the things that like.
Are those the ninja loans that I heard about?
Well, yeah,
no
exactly.
income, no job.
Back in the day, I got it in 2002, so I had a good run there. If you would have saw, and I'm sure you hear it, but I always tell the story is like we would have these. My first job, I was in the business like 4 months, and we'd have these like Mercedes pull up and these account reps, and then it was like. They were so thirsty for loans. Like they didn't care what it was. I just found a flyer. I gave it to my newer loan officers of all the loans we would do. It was my very first flyer, okay? And just to give you an idea how long I've been in the business, I used to have to fax it to real estate offices. And I had this machine that would just fax all day long to their fax machines. And then back in the day, you get contracts. And then lender rate sheets is what you would get, and that was some social media and marketing back then. So that's
intense.
Yeah. So, but I had this program that I had all the real estate offices loaded. I had to go through the yellow pages and find them, and then it would just fax them all day long. So that's how long I've been in the business.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, so with the things changing, how is AI going to impact what you guys are doing?
Interesting enough, we've never talked about this, but I am working with Rate on some AI stuff that is like out of this world. And to me, we always talk about doubling your business. Like we're building stuff that will like 10 times your business. So for me, like it's going to change a lot. But for me, like we're building stuff to be able to kind of like handle so much more. Okay. But like surface opportunities a lot easier. Right now we have 10 platforms that we have to go into to do one thing. We're building a platform that's only one platform where everything goes into and it tells you what to do, how to do it. And so for me, I think it will make loan officers who leverage technology way more impactful. Is it going to change a lot? A ton. Like it's going to completely change. I don't think realtors are ready. I mean, look at the Rocket Redfin acquisition. You know, Rocket is going to service 1 out of every 5 mortgages in the United States. Okay. So they're going to be offering listings for 1%. They're going to be offering discounted rates. That's 1 out of every 5 mortgages. And they're $1 million. They spend millions and millions of dollars on marketing. That will change a ton. I think what you're doing is actually, you know, the model that everyone should follow. And that's being hyper local and be like, they call it owning your zip code. You know, like you want to own DuPage County or whatever county, and you want to get everybody in that zip code because you know, all the stuff that you do when people search AI for insurance, that's, you know, your Google reviews, it will show up. You'll be able to help more people. So I think it's going to create a ton of disruption.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm actually kind of excited in a lot of ways because of the opportunity that it will create in other areas. So, yeah. How, you kind of feel the same, or?
I think in our world, it's going to get rid of a lot of the clerical work, right?
Yeah.
You'll be able to call into our office in, you know, let's call it 5-10 years and swap out a car and never talk to us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it'll match all the same coverage. It'll work perfect.
How are you leveraging AI today? Do you have, you know, processes in your office that are using AI?
We're restricted on some of the stuff that we can use because it was funny. We were just at a top producers conference, and one of the feedback I gave to him, I was like, you guys are saying use AI, use AI, use AI, but don't use ChatGPT and don't use all these.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I understand. Like we have a lot of compliance. What people were doing is they were uploading like proprietary information from like Allstate that are like internal stuff only on like rules, rates, things like that. And like uploading it into ChatGPT where you don't know what the end user is using it for.
Yeah.
And then using it that way. So I can understand why the company was like,
what about like underwriting and stuff like that? Will you be using like corporate wise? Will they be
They're
using?
already swapping to that. So like we used to have back in 2017 when I started, if you had like a business case of why somebody should be allowed with like an extra water claim or whatever the case is, you could go up to underwriting and make your pitch and get it done. So they've moved everything to automated. Right. So everything issues same day now. Like if it either works or it doesn't, and they've gotten it smarter about like, okay, some of these nuances were coming up. So they're using the technology to try to scrub out those nuances.
Yeah.
I think the part that's going to hurt the businesses the most in my world is that mom and pop shops are dead. Yeah. They just don't know it yet.
Yeah.
So in my world, if you only own your town, for example, you're toast.
Yeah.
And that's fine. You may not agree with me, but like if you're 1 or 2 staff members in my world and that's you think you're going to maintain that and retire off of that, you're not. Yeah. You have to get big in my world or you're going to get pushed out. Yeah. And again, it's just the way that they're going to structure the volume, the commission, the renewals. Like we've had massive commission and renewal changes.
Do you feel like if you're like a smaller company I always say think bigger. So I know where you're going with this, which I agree 1,000%. But is there, I think in our business, like from a realtor standpoint, they've forever got leads from Zillow. They got this from this lead aggregator. That lead aggregator gets sold. So now they got to find another way. And then Zillow's not always going to be the source for these people. So you have to find a way to source your business that you're not dependent on one avenue. And
Exactly.
that's I think the main thing. And that's where I think hyperlocal, owning your zip code or zip codes or areas really are not going to go away, because there's not someone that's going to come in and buy the company that you're getting leads from. Because I have people that have one source of leads where they get all their stuff. And if that were to go away, they would be basically starting from scratch. And that's very scary.
Yeah, we do internet leads, which are like Zillow leads.
Yeah.
That's how I've always explained them. They're like Zillow leads, but for insurance. And yeah, if they got sold or TCPA compliance, like all of a sudden you can't do those or whatever the case is, it would radically change. Or what if they decide, like some of these places in your world are doing this, like we're going to stop selling these and just start consuming these because we generated them, and then they, push all of us out, right? Then what are you going to do? So I do think it's the relationships to protect your business. So yeah, the lender and realtors for me, for you.
But on that, because there's real estate companies that are now licensing people to be loan officers,
like Redfin.
Yeah, and Keller Williams has done it. You have all these business models. To me, it's not about. I think it's a desperate play at revenue. Because real estate game has changed, volume is down. It's you can't, commission compression is a big part of it. And you have all these people like scrambling for business models, okay? But at the end of the day, okay, customer experience is something that, it's not even about rates that you provide, it's customer experience. That's what people are still craving, is that human interaction, customer experience. And to me, I'm not naive enough to think that, we're not going to have AI that's going to completely change the landscape. Like, I know that's going to happen, and I'm prepared for that. But I also feel like there's going to be this segment of people that still want to sit down with Nik Champion or someone on your team and talk about insurance because they feel more comfortable. Now, are you going to get people that are going to click a button to go get insurance? Of course you are.
Yep.
Same way they will a mortgage.
Yep.
But there's still going to be a lot of people, and it's our job to go find the people that want that human interaction. And I'm the believer that there's still going to be a lot of those people out there.
Well, and to that point too, right? It's like on your world, why do I'm a guaranteed rate customer as well. Why did I go with that and not Rocket Mortgage?
Yeah.
I could figure it out. I'm a smart guy. Well, it's because I want you to do your job and get it done right. And I don't want to miss these 15 other things I haven't thought about.
Yeah.
Right. And why would I want to try to be an expert in your world? And so there's always going to be a market for that.
Yeah.
But you got to be able to do both. I got to be able to be hyper local and pick up the phone and give you those, but also be efficient and drive the volume and things like that. That's the only way that I think that the future of our industries is going to look.
Yeah.
You have to get big, but be local at the same time, right?
Yeah.
They have to know you're there managing the ship while also like allowing certain things to go automated that you don't need to. Like we're a hub agent. So it's called, somebody like rents from us.
Yeah.
Like they allow them to not have a local office.
Okay.
We get a certain amount of rent for that, which is fine. They never come in. But one of the things that was brought up is like, oh, I want to do the mortgagee changes when they call it, when they mail us a mortgagee change.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's like, I was like, we'll just process those. It's literally going to take us less time to just do it than to send it to you. We'll just do it and shred it. Oh, I used to call those. Why? Oh, well, it's a good way to touch base and see all that. And I was like, no, that's probably one you need to let go.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not going to tell you how to run your business. If you really want them sent over, we'll do it. But you should probably just let us process it and just be one less thing. I was like, you're not going to get a lot out of those conversations. You should be better pressed running those conversations elsewhere. And again, to the point of earlier of adapting, right? Adapt or die. Moneyball, one of my favorite. If you're not willing to let some of those things go that maybe did provide value before, that you can't see like, hey, this isn't going to be the way we can run it in the future, that's when you're going to die. And I do think that's where a lot of people have a hard time adjusting their business.
Yeah.
And I read a lot and I listen to a lot of leaders that I try to stay ahead of that. Yeah. Right. So just because it worked yesterday doesn't mean it'll work today. And again, maybe give some perspective, I guess, from a mortgage and a real estate side where people are holding on to it. Like, do you see that where like they're still trying to run it like it's 2000?
I tell people all the time, like those days are, it's not It's not COVID anymore.
Well,
You know,
yeah.
we were order takers. Like your business wasn't that good. Like I know you thought it was, and your phone rang every day, but your business wasn't that good. It was the time. Like, do you remember what it felt like in 2019, 2018? That's what today is, you know? And I think that's the biggest thing that I always try to think about. So like once a week, I got this from our top loan officer who said this one time, and I thought it was such a great idea. So once a week, I leave my phone in the car and I go somewhere and I sit in a coffee shop with I have this notebook and I have nothing with me, no electronics, nothing. And I just write down kind of ideas and things I'm thinking about and what I want to do with zero distractions. Sounds weird. If you've never done it, like I highly recommend doing it. 30 minutes once a week. Like it's super simple. And like I come up with these ideas of like I always worry about, you know, what you're talking about is people like, you know, that are too comfortable with where things are. So yes, like that is something where I'm always asking myself, like, do I need to change? So I'll give you a quick, I was totally against and still a little apprehensive about it, but they have these AI agents that will call like past customers. So I listened to 80 phone calls, okay, for our consumer direct team. And the amount of like the technology is scary, okay? Like all they're doing is scheduling appointments for their loan officers. That's it. They're not selling, they're not doing anything. They're calling up and saying, hey, you got an opportunity to refinance. Is there any way I can set up, you know, your loan officer was this, can I set up a call? And I maybe had 2 phone calls out of the 80 where I was uncomfortable. The other like 78, I was like, this is really scary. Cause like one of them, I tell the story of the dog barked in the background and the AI agent said, oh, you have a dog. What kind of dog do you have? Like it was pretty scary. But so you think about from a scaling standpoint, if you're going against that, okay, like you would have to have a team of people in your office to make 80 phone calls, okay? And this person did it in seconds, okay? Scheduled all the appointments, put them in their calendar, and basically scheduled a whole week of calls for the sales team in a matter of minutes, okay? Mm-hmm. So just think about that for a minute, and then you scale that into a business and a pipeline. Now, you could be really uncomfortable. No one wants to talk to an AI agent, you know, but some of the people were like, is this an AI agent? They're like, yes. And they didn't care. They're like, oh, sure, I'd love to talk to the client. Like they still wanted to get on the call with the loan officer. So I think there's things like that that can completely transform a business, and it's going to make a lot of people really uncomfortable. But it's about speed to need now, not speed to lead. Like you're trying to get to them to where they need something before they even realize they need it.
Right.
And I think we've always done, you know, speed to lead. Like you get a lead, you got to hurry up and call, whatever. But now it's like with AI, you got to get to the need. In my business, it's like they have a kid. They have this, like I got to get to them before they call someone else or go to their buddy or go whatever. So I think that's what's changing is, you know, speed to need more than anything else.
Yeah, like we actually diversified our business model this year where for our internet leads, our Zillow leads, we started using a telemarketing company that's reputable. And it's a friend of mine that runs it. And we're spending $4,000 a month on that. Where they're calling the leads, getting the people on the phone. So it saves my salespeople from having to make 6 to 7 phone calls a day to get the person on the phone to say, yes, I'll do the quote. In 5 minutes from now, it's going to be AI doing it. And we just completely cut them out.
And you know what's nice about it too? And this is the way it was explained to me by our top. They're like, they're never tired.
Yep.
They don't get upset when someone hangs up on them. You can train her to be nice. You can train them. You can train it to be whatever you want.
Because all that person's doing for us is verifying info and, hey, did you actually want a quote? Cool, let me get you over to the staff to do it. That's it.
That's it.
Why can't that be an AI? That'll be 5 minutes from now.
I know. Yeah. So like stuff like that is like, if you think about it and you think about now you take that $4,000 and you invest it over here, like that's when like the gears start turning. You think about, wow, this is like, so if you're able to do that, I think the next 10 years can be amazing. Because again, I go back to not double your business. I say you're going to 10 times your business. Now, are there going to be 30, 40, 50% of people that do what we do that are no longer in the business? Absolutely. Yep. Without a doubt, you know, and we've already seen it in my business. But there's also going to be a group that completely transform their life because they're going to be offering a little bit of both technology and then the human touch. And I think that is where the secret sauce is, like moving forward.
100%.
Yeah. So one thing I want to talk about before we end is, you know, we talked about hiring. Well, first of all, what do I need to know about insurance? Like, you know, for homeowners insurance, like, you know, there's a lot of, it's a hot topic right now. and insurance is going up. One of the things I talk about in a lot of my refinance calls and anybody consumer should think about this is like, let's say you save $100 a month on your, lowering your rate. You may be able to save just as much, in insurance, because we've seen a lot of insurance go up, specific areas, trouble getting insurance. So what do I need to know, or what does the average consumer need to know about insurance right now?
Sure. And just to have some credibility, we've had rate increases just like everybody else.
Yeah.
I tell customers all the time when they're like, all right, so can you guarantee me this is my rate? I say, listen, I can't. I'll tell them like, hey, this is what it is. This is what I know, right? From, conversations I've had with leadership.
Yeah.
Any insurance agent that says that your rates aren't going to go up is a red flag. You should never work with them because it will, right? Now, is it a matter of conversation and perspective at that point? Absolutely. But we never try to start a relationship with a lie. So we're going to tell you
the main reason for the increase, because I think just to break it down even more granular, the main reason for the increase a lot of times is it just simple, too many claims, natural disasters, like all the same things that we hear. Is that the accurate?
So homeowners is the biggest one that's been driving through. So not just with my company, but also, State Farm took a 28.3% increase and raised deductibles on everybody on wind and hail. Well, where does that come from? Well, there's a lot of rain, there's a lot of wind and hail damage that's been coming through.
And a lot of storm chasers that go door to door that give.
That's we could go on that for a different time. But no, legitimate damage getting paid, right?
Yeah.
So even just focusing on legitimate damage, not illegitimate damage being paid. And then what's happened over the last 5 years? Massive record inflation. We're not talking about eggs and sugar. We're talking about like the cost of shingles are
lumber,
like at least twice as much as they were pre-COVID.
Yeah.
And so we were in a networking group, and the roofer in the group said that. He's like, oh, well, price of my shingles in the beginning of the year are going up. I think it was 40% at that time.
Yeah.
Right? And that was just of the first increase he was talking about. And I made a smart comment. I was like, I'm sure that'll have nothing to do with insurance premiums down the road.
Yeah.
Right? Insurance has to now go and buy those shingles. So they're higher materials that they're having to pay out. So when there are, and people don't necessarily think of Illinois as Florida or anything like that, right? Because we're not having hurricanes.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of major storms that come through with, and not just tornadoes, but tornadoes being one of them, of wind and hail and things like that. And what the companies are getting a lot smarter with is focusing on the zip codes and different weather patterns seem to hit different areas better. So they are increasing and decreasing the risk based on that.
And Plainfield falls in that, don't they? Because I always feel like our insurance costs in that area.
Plainfield's been having it.
Yeah.
I guess the best way to say it is that they're trying to make sure that they make some kind of profit. Now, could you argue that some of them are overdoing it? Maybe. That's a different conversation. What I would want to know if I was a consumer and was watching this is one of the number one things that's going to adjust your rate is your credit. And so the best thing you can do for your credit is buy a house, right? So if I'm a first-time home buyer and I bought my house and I'm coming up for my renewal and I'm going through a refinance with you, Eric, you tell me I was at a 700, now I'm at a 760. That's a good indicator to say, go back to your insurance agent and have them rerun your scores.
Yeah.
Right? Now, is that always going to improve it? No, but it's correlated strongly. It's causated in some cases. But we look at different factors. It's not just credit score, but I would encourage people, hey, you can rerun it with us. You can shop with us is kind of how I say.
Yeah.
Like if you know your stuff's gotten better, the only reason we don't flippantly run it is because if it gets worse, you have to take the worst rate.
So like if you're a consumer and you're advising a consumer, because the one thing we see a lot with, the realtor refers a insurance company we've never heard of. Insurance is lower, but the deductible is really high. Like what can a consumer do to look at their insurance to know that, yes, it's at a number that looks really good, but it doesn't become important until it's important.
The number one game I see people play, at least like on just those first-time homebuyers, is they'll do a percentage discount, deductible rather.
Yeah.
So if you get a 1% deductible on a $500,000 home, just to keep it simple, that's a $5,000 deductible.
Yeah.
If you go 2%, it's $10,000.
Okay.
Can you come up with $10,000 and still put groceries on the table that day, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not a problem until it's a problem. And it's a big problem at that point. Yeah, you save some premium because the more you're going to self-insure, which is what a deductible is, the lower your price is going to be. So you'll see these declaration pages that'll say $1,000 all peril deductible. Oh, that sounds great. And I was like, hey, what's your deductible? It's $1,000. I actually had this with a friend. He goes, hey, I matched everything. I'm leaving. I matched everything. I said, you matched everything. And I was like, hey, your friend, send it to me. I promise if I'm higher, I'll walk. That's fine. I'm not going to fight you on it. Sends it over to me, matched everything, assured me, apples to apples, $1,000 deductible, sure did. That wind and hail was 2%.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey man, you've got a $500 deductible with me for wind and hail. That's now I believe actually for him it was $9,300. Hey Steve, if I move this to $9,300, I'm actually less than what they are.
Yeah.
Oh, did you want that? No. Okay. So then we ended up raising it a little bit, but not a lot. And again, it's that whole thing, right? So they didn't put the value of what 2% meant next to it.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest red flag I see is like, they're like, oh, I did apples to apples, or I see good deductibles. Wind and hail is the most common claim that you're going to run across, period, hard stop.
Yeah.
That deductible matters the most.
What about like basement backup? That was a call that we always get a lot too.
Yeah.
Like, do you have any recommendations on that?
So water backup is what we call it. Sewer and drain is like what other people call it, but it's all the same basic thing. Generally speaking, like for us, if you have 5,000, that's starter coverage. 10,000 might be good coverage, and then 25,000 would be great coverage, something like that, just to make it simple. You can pay attention to your individual deductible there. It really matters, is it unfinished or finished? If you have finished basement, I'd recommend a little bit higher. If it's unfinished, you could probably get away with like some of the lower coverage.
Yeah.
But it is one of the more common claims as well. Most commonly, sump pump failure.
Yeah.
Right? So it is about balancing risk. We tell people all the time, it's not my job to cover everything.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, no, it's my job to help you decide where you want to put your premium to cover the things that are going to be the most important to you. And then it's about balancing that risk. So like, can I sell you an earthquake policy today? Sure.
Of course, yeah. That's why I tell people all the time. I use that example, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I appreciate you funding my daughter's future college, but you don't need to have that one maybe for the vast majority of people in Illinois. So yes, disclaimer, yes, you can have an earthquake, and yes, we have to disclose to you that doesn't have earthquake coverage because somebody sued over that once, right?
Yeah.
So, but like, it's not exactly where I would advise you spending your premium dollars for.
So on that though, okay, so this is we always talk about, I look at financials of people every day. The amount of people not saving for retirement is always scary to me. They're buying a $800,000 house and they got a $30,000 401k account. It's like, what's going to happen when you retire? Like, you're never going to be able to make up this time. So that's really important. The other thing I talk about a lot is like life insurance and things like that. But like, what other types of insurance do people not, like umbrella policies? Like, is there any other things that you go through that you recommend that are really important for people to consider?
Yeah, so the liability, like you're talking about in the umbrella, so even just liability at 100, 300, it's what your parents had. That's what we tell people all the time. It's like, we'll talk to people who are buying $800,000 homes, and I'm like, how much money you make? Oh, I make $400,000 a year. Cool. Why do you have $100,000 in coverage?
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. Well, that's what I've always had. Great. And that was probably great for your parents. You probably made $100,000 a year. That's awesome, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to try to oversell you on something, but you're buying a Tesla, you're buying like an $800,000 home, you're a director, you have career aspirations. Like, with all respect, grow up. You need to like increase this liability. Yeah. Right? You've worked too damn hard for it to be taken away.
Can you explain why? How is it explained to me? And you tell me if this is right. But like, you get in a car accident, that attorney is going to. Then it's your fault. Attorney's going to sue you. The first thing they're going to look at, what can I go after?
Yeah, it's actually how we word it too. It's like if you get in an accident and you hurt somebody, because we try to keep it really simple. Yeah. Is the attorney going to want to sue you? Yeah. And you go, yeah. Okay. Well, then maybe you should consider that, right? So. At minimum, if you go to 250,000/500,000, it's pretty much an industry standard. It's not just us, but allows you to then get an umbrella policy on top of that. It's generally speaking what the underlying limit is. You can get more efficient liability over all of your risk with an umbrella policy.
And just, it's not as expensive as people would think, correct?
No. It's offsetting a couple $100.
Like, and if you think about that, like, and again, most people, like, again, they'll spend $200 on membership every single month and not think twice about it. But something like this, what would you say your percentage of clients that do not do it versus
95%?
Yeah,
97%.
It's crazy. Is that crazy? Like, to me, that's crazy.
So, and it is. You don't have to be a millionaire to be sued like one. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And it's funny because there are a lot more these lawsuits going on. They're probably more like $400 to $500 now. Yeah. Even one of our biggest competitors, because I don't have this one like in definitive like I did the rate increase earlier.
But that's $400 or $500 a year, right?
Correct.
I mean,
$40 a month.
Let's put that. Yeah.
So they're it's offsetting the risk, right? So are you going to be more happy with the $400 or knowing that the risk is taken care of? Yeah. And again, if you're not making groceries or you're struggling to look at the grocery bill, maybe it's not for you, right? But it's like, hey, well, I think I'd rather just know that if something happened, right, because it could be your ticket to be pulled, that you have some kind of protection, that you're not going to lose everything. It's just for peace of mind, right? You're just doing it for peace of mind.
Yeah.
But they've gone up in rates, right, because people are suing each other.
Yeah.
Like, well, why did umbrella rates go up, right? Because we talked about materials. That can make sense for the homeowners. Why did umbrellas go up? Well, people are getting sued more, right? And the cost of medical bills that are coming out of those are substantially going up.
Yeah.
It's something I think people should pay more attention to, especially
I just wanted to
doing
mention it because I think it's important that a lot of clients sit down. Do you recommend like sitting down with you and kind of going through what you have, what I would recommend, what you need, and this is what you know, is that something that you do regularly or try to do?
Yeah, and we try to feel it out too, right? So if we jump on the call and it's like, hey man, I got to save money. If you're not saving money, I got to save money, save money.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're not going to worry about putting you into 10x the coverage and talking about it. Now, if you even say I'm still trying to save money, and I look at your home and it's a $1.5 million home and you're at state minimum, I'm probably still going to have that conversation with you. Like, this doesn't make sense. Like let's have some perspective here. But yeah, I think for a consumer, having the open mind, be like, hey, I have what I have and I want to save money, but I'm open-minded to what else is out there, right? Just because you had it for years doesn't mean that person wasn't doing it right. Or that you haven't updated them, like, hey, I was making $50,000 a year, now I'm making $250,000 a year, and you never updated the professionals in your life, whether that's the loan officer or the realtor or myself. They don't know, right?
Yeah.
So saying, hey, why don't you ask me whatever you need to ask? Coming in with that open mind, you'd be surprised at maybe some of the things that come out, right?
Yeah.
So, or especially if you're playing with house money, you're saving like $1,000.
Any other policies like that? Anybody should do best practice? Like, do you do life insurance or?
We do life insurance.
Okay.
I do feel very strongly my role as a husband, as a father, is to make sure that things are taken care of when I'm here and when I'm not here. So like for me, I just ended up buying a life insurance policy on my business. It's called a buy-sell agreement, where I appointed somebody to take over and have a guaranteed result of what the sale price of our business would be. So my wife doesn't have to deal with that if I die.
That's awesome.
And again, you can run your family however you want, but I think that providing for your family afterwards is my job. So,
I mean, honestly, like I have a couple buddies in the financial industry, and that was like when I had when I was going to have Jake, who's 10 now. They took me out to lunch, and they were like, "Okay, this is what you're going to do. You're going to get a will. You're going to get you're going to do all this stuff. You're going to get life insurance." Like they basically like laid it out for me because and I'm always shocked at the people that don't have it. So I think it's something that's really important from a consumer standpoint. Does it cost money? Yes, but I will tell you this, like we've all seen the GoFundMe pages when someone passes away or do something. Like the biggest gift that you can give your family is, God forbid something ever happened to you, to have this stuff taken care of. Because if you do not, can be absolutely life altering. And again, when you have a child, like one thing to leave your wife that mess, but you never want to leave a child that. So for me, it's peace of mind. I remember like, it sounds, morbid, but I had a procedure done. And I remember like, they're like, do you have, life insurance? I was like, yeah, I do, and it was almost like a peace of mind. Like, it wasn't major surgery, but it was like, I was thinking like, my buddy said to me later, he's like, aren't you glad doesn't it make you like think about it a little bit? Like where God forbid something happened, like I'm almost worth more dead than I am alive,
right?
In a lot of ways. And that that's the way, like most people don't think like that, but you really have to when you get in this business. Instead of buying the Mercedes and your first paycheck, you should do all the things that most people don't do.
And it's hard, right? Because it's an expense that you'll never be able to deal with, right? So like people are like, oh, well, I don't care what my wife does afterwards. Like I'm dead. It doesn't matter. Like we've heard that before, but you want to make sure that things are taken care of afterwards. I don't want you to go on there and like beg people for money and things like that.
Yeah,
do you know the number one way that people lose their home is not because of fire or tornado? It's actually because loss of an income.
It's crazy.
Right? So they have situations where like, hey, I'm the breadwinner and I make all the money and then I pass away and they've still got to make that mortgage payment. And you got them $50,000. You got to find all expenses. Great, they buried you. Now what?
Yeah,
they're gonna in their grieving process immediately start doing more work.
Yeah,
is that what you think is going to happen?
Well, and they don't even know because a lot of times the mortgage companies won't even talk to them if let's say the husband. I've had this happen before. The husband got the mortgage by himself. Wife, he gets remarried. New wife moves in. She's not even on the mortgage. He passes away, and like she can't even talk to the mortgage company because she's not even like that is the scary part because you have no will, you have nothing, everything goes to the state. Like it's an absolute desire.
Yeah, I do stand on business on this. You should involve your spouse regardless if they make money.
Yeah.
When we signed up for the life insurance policies, I made my wife sit down. I was like, sit down, listen to the guy. Because I had somebody else do it, right? So like kind of like being a lawyer, don't represent yourself. I'm like, he's better at it. So we're going to let John do it. So John's my financial guy.
Yeah.
I was like, you're going to listen to John. She goes, I don't care. Just pick whatever you want. It's like, that sounds great. If I get hit by a bus, I need you to at least know directionally what we're doing. Right? You don't have to be an expert, right? But I need you to kind of understand what we're doing. It's my job as a husband to make sure that you're not like, I don't respect you if you pass and your wife is lost.
Oh, absolutely.
That
100%.
is something that could have been avoided.
The way it scared me was my son was being born and we had a trip planned about a year after he was born. And my buddy said to me at lunch, he's like, hey, he goes, let me ask you a question. He's like, your plane goes down with you and Jen on it. You know, who's going to take care of your kid? You know, and that's how we started the conversation, like when we went into it. And he's like, that's why you want to put all this stuff together. And it sounds crazy, okay, but you just never want to do that. So before we end up, because I could go on and on with you because I'm enjoying the conversation, but you've mentioned your wife and your daughter. But one of the things when I interview people, one of the first questions I ask them, okay, so you talked about, you know, what your first question is. My question always is, what's your support at home? Because, you know, in our business and your business, there's a lot of late phone calls. There's a lot of understanding. There's a lot of sacrifice. I can't, you know, I'm going to miss things here and there. Support at home and what you do is probably more important a lot of times than our staff. So it sounds like you got, you know, how much do you think of that? How much, you know, can you speak to that at all?
Sure. So with my wife, over supportive. I mean, when I first brought it up to her, I was like, hey, I think we could open up an office. We're going to jump away from this job.
Yeah.
She goes, all right, so when do we start? I was like, whoa. We got to like, got to save money. Even like when I needed to do a selling phase in Michigan, I was like, hey, I know I said if I was going to move you, we'd move south for better weather, but the only opportunity is in Michigan, which is in Detroit, which is actually north. She goes, all right, so that's where we're going.
Yeah.
So my wife is like beyond supportive, and it does make me appreciate her more and more every single time. I'm seeing divorces now happen with friends, right, who seem happy, and or games that they'll play like online or like venting about it. I was like, my wife doesn't do any of that stuff.
Yeah,
we have a great relationship. She does understand that work is a priority. I do try to be as present of a father and as a husband as I can, right? And it's a balancing act. And she allows me to balance it. I think what helps too is that she also has a job as a tax accountant that sometimes can be overly demanding.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm also not going to bring you to task about that, right? So if things happen, like I totally get it. Like let's work through it. Let's talk through it.
Yeah.
But no, my wife at home is way more supportive than I see most people being. And she understands how it fits into the big picture of what we're trying to do.
Did it make you appreciate it even more seeing her be a mom? I remember that experience. Like it was like, you know, because my wife's in the corporate world as well, and like she owns that.
Sure.
But then seeing her own being a mother was like a whole nother level. Yeah.
Yeah, and for our family dynamics is a little bit different. So she was full-time, working even 80, 90 hours a week when it was busy season, that she dropped to part-time so that she could be, because
my wife did the same thing. Yep.
She's like, hey, I'd like to be more present with our daughter. And so that's a non-negotiable for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I actually encouraged her to keep the job so that she would have something.
Yeah.
Not just the income. The income's nice, but like just so that you'd have something that has nothing to do with a toddler.
No, I had the same conversation. So we did the same. How old's your daughter?
3.
Yeah, 3. Yeah, yep, yeah.
Yeah. So it's been great because I mean she's very much a hard worker. My wife is, and she wants to get everything done. And it's trying to get her to like even tell them no, right? Is like hard because work ethic is a culture in our family.
Yeah.
And so in terms of the support at home for like the daughter and things like that too, it's like, well, how do you balance that? I didn't get home till 8:15 yesterday. I had a late day. I had to get stuff taken care of. And I was like, hey, I'm sorry. And my wife's like, yep, I'm up in the office right now. And she's on the iPad and I'm working too. And I go, well, and we joked. I was like, well, I hope she appreciates this one day.
Well, so this is what I always say. So, you know, my son's 10 and, you know, I interviewed him for a podcast. We had a fun little exchange and he said, and part of the podcast, you know, that he wish I was home more to like play, you know, which, you know, hit me a little hard. But A couple days later, we were talking about it, and I was asking him, and he was talking about how hard I work and some. So you're also teaching work ethic, kind of the same things that you learned from your dad and, growing up, or your mom, and, taking care of your dad and all those things like that stays with you in ways that we're not really sure. And then when we get older, like our kids are going to have those same work ethic. And, it's a sacrifice. I tell people all the time, like, it's definitely not for everyone. Like, would I love to be the dad that coaches everything and do all that? Yeah, of course I would. And I don't miss sporting events, and I'm involved in a lot, but could I do more? Absolutely. But I also have all these people that depend on me here. I have, and my wife always understands it too, because like everyone here, they have families, they have kids, your staff of 18 people have kids, family, like it's not just our family, it's everybody. And our work, pays a lot of families' mortgages. So it's like, it's an immense responsibility that I don't think that we don't even think about probably as much as we should.
I do think about it. And I will say that so doing the compliant things, making sure you're doing things the right way. I've certainly had people approach me about doing the wrong things. And I just look at them and go, I got 18 families, not including myself, that rely on me. I'm not going to do it so I get a couple deals from you. Like, I'm just not. And they're like, oh, okay. Like, you have to keep that perspective sometimes. But I hope my daughter one day catches me in the act of greatness, right? That it's like, hey, this is what we do. Now, I value that time with her, and I value my time with my wife. So I'm going for both. Will I be the best insurance agent ever? No.
Yeah.
Somebody else who will go 100% all in on business is going to beat us, and that's fine. I think I can make a good living doing what I'm doing. But like in your world, there are people who talk about it's like, hey, it's this or nothing. Everything comes second. God bless you. If that's what you want. For me, I do still want to balance. Like, again, it became really easy when I started telling people priorities, which is wife, daughter, business, everything else. It allows you to make decisions pretty quickly of what are the most important things. Like, I can't hang out with friends. I can't go watch the Bears. I can't do whatever.
Yeah.
But I make sure that those things are in a priority. And that means sometimes they trade off for each other.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes business takes over, but as long as 1 and 2 aren't neglected more, right? Yeah. That's where I think it's you're going to find the right people around you too, because the more people I tell that to, the more I attract the right people like yourself who are, hey, I'm about family and business as well.
Have you ever read the book Traction?
I haven't.
Okay, I'm going to give it to you.
All right.
Okay, so it's a book about, you've already built an amazing business, so you don't need it. But I highly recommend reading it because there is a theme in there. There's a bunch of themes. It's a book. I've had coaching on it. It's amazing. But one of the things they say in there is delegate to elevate. Mm-hmm. So, you can still accomplish everything that you want. You just got to be really good at delegation. I tell the story. So our number one loan officer at Guaranteed Rate, okay? Closed, amount of, he himself is more than most mortgage companies, okay?
Right.
Closes about $100 million a month, if you can imagine, which is amazing, okay? But he gets to where he takes his kids to school every day at 8:30, and he's home at 5:30 every day. And it's not a like a lie, like it's literally that. But he's built his business in a way that allows you to scale. Okay, so like I think that's the battle for us is like we just got to think bigger. Kind of go back to the earlier theme, and you put the right people around you, and you can it's something I think about a lot. But sometimes we just got to put the right people around us that are willing to take that off of our plate so we can go and do more networking and sales and bring more business in.
Well, to add one more final bit of advice, if anybody is lasting this long or season and short, being willing to pay somebody for it.
Yeah.
And so I think I see a lot of people, it's like, well, I could just do that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But if you pay somebody, now you can go be with your kids, be with your family.
Exactly, yeah.
And so they have a hard time letting go.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. We're all kind of control freaks, and nobody does it better than us. But the moment you can, I always say, like, when I get a customer service and it mentions everybody but me, like in the Google survey, like part of me was like, well, I talked to the guy, like they didn't mention me, like, but in a lot of ways, when you have a great team is when that was the mark that was left is everybody, but me. And I'll joke around with my team. I'm like, did you tell him to leave my name out in this? Because it's like, it mentioned every single person along the way except for me. So yeah.
80% of you is better than 0% of you. If you can't get to it, you can't get to it.
So last question before we end, I appreciate the time, is, if it wasn't for, insurance, okay, and money was not an object, what would be what Nik Champion would be doing day to day?
So I've told this before. If I couldn't do sales at all, right? Because
Yeah.
I apparently like the sales game. Police officer.
Really? That's good. You're the first police officer to answer.
I respect so many. I have like 3 or 4 fraternity brothers that are police officers, and
Yeah.
I just like in respect and in awe of what they do, and just the idea to try to help people and do the right thing. I think that making a difference is something that I want to do, and I feel like that's a profession that if you do it the right way, you can really make a difference for people at very hard times, right? Because
Absolutely.
you're not similar in the insurance world. I'm not there for your best day. In fact, if you're interacting with me, it's probably not a good day. So it's like, can you help people in these moments where they really need you?
Yeah.
So that's always kind of had a thought.
I love that. I think that's amazing. I think that says a lot about your character and who you are and the business that you've built. And I just want to say again, first I'll put it on camera because I owe him documents to do my insurance. So I'm putting this on camera that I am going to send. And Mike, who's behind the camera, is going to remind me because I think he's been asking me for months. And he's been very respectful on this, so I'm going to get it sent. But on that, I think, a lot about sitting down here today and talking with you. Not that I was ever like doubting your success, but just getting to talk with you, like I really enjoyed the conversation. I think this is probably the longest podcast we've done. And I'm like holding back on the questions that I want to ask. So I definitely want to do this again at some point because there's a lot of different areas I think we could go in this because I think we have a lot of parallels in our business. But I just want to say thank you and appreciate. And again, I will call it out. Anybody who wants to learn how to network should reach out to Nik Champion because he's done an amazing job. So congratulations on your success.
Thanks, Eric.
Really awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.